So what would a master stair builder keep in his stair building kit? I think that's the question we'd all like to know. I'm a far cry from a master stair builder, but I do a fair amount of stair work, and I've got some requests to know what is in my stair tools and consumables box. So we're gonna dive into that in this video. A couple years ago, I was on a job site and there was a guy on site who had basically built stairs his entire life. He was a stair builder out in California, and they actually did circular stairs in tract homes. So they were actually knocking out circular staircases at a production level, and I found it absolutely fascinating to be on the job site with him and ask him questions about his setup, see what tools he was using, see what consumables, what bolts, nuts, everything that he was using, and just really take all of that in. It was really cool for me. So I'm not at that level, but it's always cool to see what other guys do and what they use, and that's what I'm gonna show you in this video. We're just gonna start at the top and work our way down. You'll notice this is a Festool 3-drawer Sortainer. Works really good. It's about the ideal size for me to keep all my stair stuff in. On the top, if we pull this drawer out, this is where I got a lot of hardware and consumables. Starting over here, you're gonna need plugs. Most of these are poplar because I mostly work with poplar material. If I'm working with oak or something different, I'll remember to bring different plugs to the job site. But for the most part, I don't usually have to worry about that. Anytime you're using rail bolts, you're going to be drilling 1-inch holes, so you need plugs for that. And sometimes I drill smaller holes to use other different lag bolts and things like that. So having a variety of sizes of plugs is really ideal. Now these guys here that you see up front are what you call Dowel fast screws. These are, you buy them from LJ Smith. They're 2.5 inches long. These are going to be used whenever you're installing square balusters. And you just drill a hole in the bottom of the baluster and screw these in, or you can screw it into the tread first. But this is going to allow you to fasten your wood balusters to your treads, and those work really good. There is a tool that you put in your drill, and that way you can thread these into this chuck, drill it in, and then you just reverse it, and that speeds up the process on installing these quite a bit. And then you can just, after this is installed into your tread or your floor, you can just twist these on. Works really good. Now I just realized I was out of these wood dowels, and these are something that you're going to want to have also, because there are some situations when you're installing wood dowels, or whenever you're installing wooden balusters, that you can't twist the baluster in. Say for example, you were installing the baluster and the handrail was already installed, you would need to drop the baluster into place and rock it up. You wouldn't be able to twist it in that situation. And that's where you want to have these wood dowels. So I keep a variety of these bits, I don't know if you call them that, from LJ Smith. You can see here, these two are for these dowel fast screws. These two are for hanger bolts. So this is what you're going to use to attach your handrail. Same concept, you can just twist in your hanger bolt, drill it in, put the drill in reverse, and it'll pop right off. If you go into most hardware stores and try to buy a hanger bolt, you're going to get this, this, and this in the package. So you can see here, this is a piece of handrail and I've already got it drilled out. Now imagine that this was already fastened into the wall. What you would be doing is installing this, and then this little washer goes in there, and then you would put the nut over that and tighten it. So it would end up looking like that. You've got your bolt, your plastic piece, and then your nut over here. Now I use something that another stair guy showed me on Instagram, and it is a different kind of nut, and it has a washer built onto the nut. So this nut will actually spin freely. It's connected to this washer, but it spins freely. So you get the benefit of both of these things connected in one piece. And these are just a lot easier to use, and it's less fumbling around. So I'm a big fan of these. This is the box that I purchased. Once I found these, I bought them in bulk, but it is called a washer nut free spinning coarse thread, 5/16 by 18. This is Midwest, your fastener connection, blah, blah, blah. So if you want to buy those, that's how I get those. There are, however, going to be situations where this length of rail bolt is not long enough. Now, technically, what these are called is a hanger bolt. Now, if you go to a stair parts store, they're going to call them a rail bolt because they're used to attach handrails. But if you want to buy these in bulk, you just call them hanger bolts. So I keep a few different sizes, and as you can see in here, I have some much longer ones. So that comes in handy in certain applications. I also keep a fair amount of GRK screws. These are just 4-inch GRK screws. Here are some longer GRK screws. I'd use these to attach Newels, attach blocking down into subfloor for box Newels and things like that. The other thing that you can do with these, okay, is if you have washers on hand, you can use these with washers. So I also keep washers in my kit. The next thing you'll notice is I have a whole bunch of these screws, and you might be wondering, what in the world would you use these tiny 2.5-inch screws for? Well, on the inside of box Newels, if you have a right angle bit such as this, this will fit into the inside of a box Newel, and then you can attach your handrail from the inside with these, and it saves a ton of time, and they're super strong, and you don't have to plug a hole like you would with a situation like this. So these are super handy. I use a ton of these to attach my box Newels. This impact ready right angle attachment, it is worth every penny. You have to have one of these. So go out and get one if you don't have one. Moving on from the top drawer, next drawer down, you'll notice I have a little bit longer hanger bolts. Got a bunch of the miscellaneous nut washers rolling around in here, some other washers. Over here, got lag bolts. Again, what I just said, utilizing this tool, I don't use these lag bolts a whole lot, but they do have their place at times, and a lot of old school stair guys would be using lag bolts a lot. Over here in this corner, this is a little jig made by LJ Smith, and this will fit over the top of a 1.25-inch wood baluster. And if you separate it, which it's probably not going to want to, there we go. Now this will fit over the top of an 1.75-inch wood baluster. And what that allows you to do is stick it over the top, and it centers the hole right here. And then you can just take your drill bit, this isn't the right size, and drill your holes, and it will center your holes on the balusters, and that works pretty good. This is designed to be used in conjunction with these dowel fast screws. So what you would do is stick this over the ends of your balusters, drill your holes, and then this hole is the proper size for these fasteners to go in. Over here we have another tool by LJ Smith, and this is also designed to be You see the square cutout here. It is also designed to be used on 1 3/4 balusters, and whenever you're using these dowel fast screws, you're going to put these into your tread, and then after you have your hole drilled with this guy, you can just stick it right on top of this screw, and your drill you can use to really quickly spin these around, and you can it's just a lot faster using a drill and spinning these than doing it by hand and twisting. Believe me, I've had to do a lot of these before by hand, and it'll wear you out after a while. It gets a bit tedious. That brings us to this little area, which has Forstner bits and some drill bits. I like these Freud Forstner bits. They're very sharp around the outside, and I find that they make a really nice cut whenever you're trying to drill a hole like this, and then whenever you put the plug in, it all but disappears. There's not a lot of wandering with these bits, and I really like that. So you can buy these in a 4-pack, and I like to have all the different sizes. Not ever going to use the 1/4 inch probably, but do use the 3/8, 1/2, and 1 inch quite a bit. Then whenever you're drilling for your rail bolts, you're going to need a 1/4 inch drill bit or a 5/16 inch drill bit. This drill bit here, I actually can't remember what size it is, but it is designed to be used with this little jig right here. Hey guys, don't forget, if you find these videos helpful, I provide links for all of the tools that I'm using and the consumables that I'm using in the notes below, in the description with the video, or in the very top comment in the comment section. I get a kickback from Amazon whenever you buy things through those links. So if you want to support the channel without having to pay anything extra, all you got to do is click those links and add those things to your cart through those links, and it helps keep this channel going. So don't forget that, it's much appreciated, thanks. Another drill bit that I keep in my drill box but is very important for stairs is a stubby drill bit such as this. And what this does is it's used with this right angle attachment. So whenever I'm going to use screws on the inside of box newel posts, I need to pre-drill a hole first. And these are just the right length so that I can get this thing down inside the newel post, drill my hole, and it works really good. Then I'll just pop that out, pop my drill bit in there, the Torx bit, and use those 2.5 inch GRK screws to fasten the handrail. So another very important drill bit. These stay in my drill kit. They don't stay in my stair box per se, but they're very important tools to have. Moving over here, this is kind of just a mess. We've got all kinds of stuff in here. Let's just go ahead and tear into it. This is a 9/32 bit. Now I know what that's for. It's for this jig. 9/32 is the size you want for that. This is a 1/2 inch mortising chisel. This is used for square mortising these 1/2 inch iron balusters. So I just keep the cap on that. You can see the head is all mushroomed out up here from getting hit with the hammer. That's what that is used for. Keep a junk chisel just for a little bit of whatever. Use a ton of spade bits. 5/8 is a really important size because if you're going to drill a round hole for a 1/2 inch baluster to go in, you need a 5/8 inch bit. So if I'm drilling out a handrail and I'm going to slip my balusters up into place, 5/8 is the size that I'm using for that. And they tend to, in oak handrails, get hot and go dull pretty quick. So I got a lot of these in here. These are dividers, or some might call a compass. Technically it needs a pencil on it, I think, to be called a compass. But these you would use to evenly space balusters. If you want to really accurately do that, you can walk this across and get your baluster spacing with these. Pretty handy to have around. Bunch more spade bits in here. 1/2 inch is another important size to have. Now I got a variety of wrenches here. These wrenches are all used with rail bolts. Now the problem is, to tighten a bolt in this tiny little hole, you can't really use a regular wrench. And you can see I've even ground off the sides of this wrench. And I keep this one just in case I really have to torque on something. But in general, you're going to use a rail bolt wrench such as this. And because of the round design and the very slim margin around it, it's going to allow you to insert this wrench and actually tighten this bolt little by little. They come with these rubber bands, and they're kind of a tricky little gadget to use. But what you would technically do, you can see it's got a magnetic end on here. That nut's not falling off. What you would do is put this rubber band around that nut, and then it allows you to put the nut on the end of the bolt, and you can actually pull the rubber band a little bit to get your nut started. Getting rail bolt nuts on truly can be a circus act at times, and that is why, if at all possible, I try and use my little right angle dealio here. That way I can avoid using these things because they are kind of a pain. Now here is a ratchet wrench with, what size is this? 1/2 inch socket on it. And what you would use this for would be in a situation we talked about earlier where you would use a rail bolt like this. You can also do the opposite, where you wouldn't be drilling this hole. You would pre-drill a hole in the end of your rail. You would screw your rail bolt in, and then you would have your box newel here like so. Your rail would run into it, and then you could put your nut on, get down inside of the box newel and tighten it this way. You could also not use a rail bolt. You could use a lag screw such as this. Pre-drill your hole into the rail, pre-drill your hole into the box newel, and then from inside the box newel, thread your lag in and then tighten it using this socket. So that's what that's for. Well, that pretty well covers all of this junk. It's kind of just a mess in here. Put all that back. And here we are on the bottom drawer. Not nearly as much to talk about in this drawer. This is a Stabila digital level. It's going to allow you on small fittings or small sections of handrail to figure out exactly where you're at as far as your angle. So I actually don't use this a ton. I use my 48-inch digital level a ton. And that's the one I would definitely recommend getting first because I just haven't had that many situations where I've needed this. This is a wrench for wooden balusters. So whenever you're doing your dowel fast screws and you're trying to get these tightened down, it's not so much difficult to get them tightened down, but then you need to get them perpendicular and square in the right direction. And sometimes that means you got to give them a pretty good twist. So this little wrench is nice because you can just slip it over the baluster and it gives you a little bit of leverage to get it just right where you want it. Now this lovely piece of handrail is, I believe, what they would call a 6210, no, I think it's a 6210 handrail. Anyways, it is an extremely common handrail and it's one that I install a ton. So I actually have my own jigs made up, and you can see here they have a cutout on them. So with the box newels that I use, this is the width of the box newel, and I can actually just set this right on top of the neck molding and then In the instance, like this is a jig for the flat, this is a jig for the rake. I can just attach this to the Newel post, and it makes it super easy to put my handrail on it, and it keeps it square, it keeps it centered, and just makes my life a whole lot easier. So that's something that I found helpful because I installed this particular handrail so much. Final tool is a jig, and this is extremely important because I install a ton of false tread end caps, and I need a piece of 1/2-inch plywood with a dado cut out of the center of it to slip over skirt boards for marking skirt boards to know where to miter them. I've got a whole video on doing mitered skirt boards with this, but this is something extremely important that I need to have in my stair kit at all times because there's not 1/2-inch plywood laying around the job site. So when I need this jig, I need it, and there's not going to be something laying around for me to make something out of. So that always lives in the bottom of the drawer and gets used a ton. One final tool here to talk about, and this is the most important tool. The ROI on this tool is out of the park for me. I have used it so much. It's so important to my workflow. That is this 4-foot digital Stabila level. It makes getting your angles for stairs so unbelievably easy. It just saves so much time and increases accuracy. It's crazy. So it's a tremendous value. I highly recommend this tool also. I couldn't live without it. It's great. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what I'm missing in my kit. What's different from yours, from mine? What do you like? What don't you like? I hope this has been helpful. I know for me as a carpenter, it's always just super interesting to look into somebody else's tool kit for a specialized task such as stairs. So I hope you guys find this interesting and helpful. And again, don't forget the links for all this stuff will be in the video notes below. That helps a ton to support the channel when you make purchases through those links. So if you're gonna buy something, definitely do that. It's much, much appreciated.